Hello from Toronto, Canada, as well as from Taiwan, Israel, and Spain, and of course, Austria via Taipei. My name is John Jung. I am the chairman and co-founder of the Intelligent Community Forum headquartered in New York City. Now, this is truly a global event featuring a smart city roundtable from all over the world. The theme of our European roundtable is Together for a Better Future, and it's organized by the Smart City Development Project Office, delegated by the Administration for Digital Industries of the Ministry of Digital Affairs in Taiwan and the Intelligent Community Forum. Now, with us today, I'm honored to be moderating a wonderful panel of speakers, and we're going to start off with Betty Hu, who's the Deputy Director General Administration for Digital Industries, also known as ADI, the Ministry of Digital Affairs in Taiwan. Now, the administration's main missions are to promote development of the digital economy, guide, award, and manage digital economy-related industries. Now, prior to her post at ADI, she was the Deputy Director General of Small and Medium Enterprise Administration at the Ministry of Economic Affairs. We also have with us Liat Shaham, who is the head of business development of CityZone in Tel Aviv, Israel. Now, she's in charge of business development, helping CityZone create partnerships and strategic alliances with entities in its ecosystem, such as EIT Urban Mobility, and helping CityZone's portfolio companies form business relationships. In Barcelona, we have Maria Galindo Garcia-Delgado. Now, she's a board member of the European Commission. Their mission is on climate neutral and smart cities. She was appointed Director General for Digital Nation and the Urban Agenda of the Government of Catalonia on July 2021. Now, among her other roles and responsibilities, she has published and co-authored a number of papers and articles, including the European Commission's Rolling Agenda for Smart Cities. And we have with us Roland Rudorfer, who's the director of the Austrian office in Taipei. So welcome all of you. Now, let's begin. Now, everyone's interested in knowing how to create and operate a smart city. Now, how do they even know that there is such a thing as a smart city in their communities? So the first question to explore is your community's core framework in becoming a smart city. So I'm going to start with Betty. Specifically, Betty, how do you adopt technology in order to support the digitization development in your community? Betty?
Thank you, John. And it's really an honor to be here to have a conversation with you. And I should say, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. And thank you for your question. In Taiwan, we have a smart city project. And in this project, we support the digitalization development in our community through the PPP, that public-private people partnership model. For instance, the central government provides funding and resources, and local government provides demo sites for trials, where enterprise can provide solutions, use technology such as AI, IoT, 5G to address needs from the cities and counties based on the local policies. Moreover, we encourage solutions to be tested locally in Taiwan first, and then promoted to international community through the bilateral industrial collaboration summits or international expos or an overseas field trial to help expand the footprint of these solutions in the global marketplace. So since the start of the Taiwan Smart City project in 2018, we have encouraged 319 enterprises, including 70 startups, to deploy 240 smart solutions across 22 cities and counties in Taiwan. These solutions, including those for 5G smart factory, telemedicine, AI air quality monitoring, AR/VR enable English learning, and more. And one particular example can be drawn from the solution for English learning. In order to mitigate the urban-rural divided in education resources, our companies have utilized AR/VR and the location-based service with cultural content to enhance the teaching and learning experience. And this solution has also been deployed to 10 cities and counties across Taiwan, enjoyed by 400,000 students from 68 different schools. And we think pain point is very important, and to adopt the proper technology is also very important. So we think that use the PPP partnership mechanism can use the proper solution to support our community. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Betty. The same question can be spoken by Liat. It's the question is specifically, how do you adopt technology in order to support the digitization development in your community?
So hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Before I answer your question, I'll explain briefly who we are, what is CityZone, so you get the context. So CityZone is an open innovation hub in the city of Tel Aviv, and it's owned by the city of Tel Aviv and the University of Tel Aviv. It's co-owned and run by the Atidim Park, which is an industrial office business park that is also part or belongs to the city of Tel Aviv and the University of Tel Aviv. So it's kind of a unique structure where a business area is actually, it belongs to the city in part, and this creates a unique advantage for the city because it can basically incorporate their things that they want to try. And CityZone is located in this park, and CityZone is an open innovation program. It looks outside of what the city already has and what it wants to develop on its own, because Tel Aviv has quite a big software development arm of over 300 software developers, and a lot of things they do in-house. So when they don't see anything that exists off the shelf, and when there's nothing, they decide that it's nothing that they want to develop on their own, they come to us and we look from them for outside, mainly with startups. If it's for a mature, a mature product, then usually it's just regular purchasing and procurement. But if they see something that they don't find a ready-made product and they want to customize some ability to their needs, and they understand it's something that needs some customization, then we offer the city of Tel Aviv as a design partner. This is our main offering to the startup. And with the added value of what I explained, the business area as a demo site and an actual living lab. Okay, a living lab. It's living because it operates daily. People come in and out. There are restaurants. There's a hospital. There are offices and restaurants and bus terminal and a lot of streets, obviously, and parkings and a lot of city use cases. But it's considered a logistical area, so a lot of the bureaucracy, which we'll come into maybe lately about the challenges of adopting technology, it doesn't exist here because it's just, the park decides that what they want to implement. So if the park decides in favor, then we can implement. So basically, this is what we give the startups, and this is our way of helping the city adopt innovation from the outside.
Great. Sounds very exciting. Love to visit someday. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maria, the same question. Could you take that on, please?
Sure. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for inviting me and for having this extraordinary panel with you experts. I'm really happy to share with you my personal experience, not just at the government of Catalonia, but also in the city of Barcelona. I used to work in the city of Barcelona developing the smart city project. And after that, I've been working in consulting, in smart city consulting. So I've been doing projects in Latin America, in Asia, and of course in Europe. So I guess with all my experience in the many different cities, I guess there's one point, and I'm happy to say that it's the same as Betty Hu was pointing out, which is creating these partnerships, these ecosystems that really, enhance the probability of success of the smart city, of applying technology into what's new, because also with technology disruption and with the investments that need to be made in order to bring on or unlock the full potential of these technologies, you need really this kind of cooperation, not just between the public and private sectors, but also in driving. And what Liat was saying is very important in driving, the startups, the entrepreneurships, the students, and everyone in society, also bringing in citizens to co-develop and co-implement this kind of solutions, because at the end of the day, we're talking about cities, so we're talking about citizens, and whether, a technology is embraced or not, this will be in the hands of citizens. So we also need to work with the citizens. So I would say building an ecosystem from the beginning, and for testing this kind of technology. I'd like to also point out in Catalonia, we are also facing this rural urban kind of dichotomy or problem. So we're seeing that the urban areas are growing very much, where people concentrate. So this poses a lot of stresses on how public services and urban services are deployed, but also economy. Economy is concentrated in these urban areas. So we're facing, the rural areas and the further areas are being, kind of left behind, because people are moving into the cities, and also economy is moving into the cities. So we've been working in how to really build, a value proposition for the rural areas. And we've been doing this through technology and through digitalization, as to bringing in new opportunities. We know that new opportunities will be made on, the basic digitalization infrastructure. So we need connectivity everywhere in order to connect citizens, but also to promote economic activity. And also in digitizing old and traditional sectors, as well as to bring on like new opportunities for the economy. So yeah, we're doing that together with the territory, with the rural areas, and we're promoting the use, for instance, of 5G. We call these 5G areas, where we promote the development and the testing of 5G for a specific sector, as to deploy the ecosystem around it, so that it can flourish really in these remoter areas.
Well, thank you. Roland, would you like to take this question on? Specifically, how does Austria adopt technology in order to support the digitization development in the communities that you represent?
Well, of course, in Austria, we have the national approach, but of course also the community approach, especially in the city of Vienna, which has been voted the most livable city, at least in the top 5 in the last 10 years, I would say. Vienna is maybe one of the forerunners also in digitalization and making use of digitalization for the people. So, for example, by 2030, the goal of the city of Vienna is that all processes and services of the municipal administration that are of relevance to the public are digitalized and fully automated wherever possible. So, but also inclusion of all people living in Vienna, of all the Viennese, because it's a growing city. So for just as an example, in 2017, the Say Vienna app or Tell Vienna app was created, where each and every citizen can report through this app if there's a broken pavement or malfunctioning traffic or an empty dog waste disposal bag dispenser. They can report this in, and the city administration actually really has to deal with it. And the citizen in question who reports this will then be contacted as soon as the issue has been solved through this app. And since 2017, more than 100,000 cases have been solved in this way. So participation is very, very important in the city of Vienna. And so and the city of Vienna also creates an excellent pool of data and digitalized and uses that data pool actually for the decision making and the management purposes, but also make this information, this data pool, publicly accessible. So that's a part of open government and transparency. So inclusion of the citizen is very, very important. Or like I always like to give examples of what's happening. Or in Wien Mobil, for example, that's called the Vienna Public Transport Corporation. They have created in the meantime, I think it's 10 or 12 traffic points. So where where everything, all possibilities of transport are conveniently combined. So there is an optimization of public transport, private transport, any kind of mobility service, like using the bicycle, using Uber, using all different car sharing facilities and so on. So to make it just more easily accessible and more easily usable by the people. So and also there are more and more information labs, especially for the elderly who might have more problems with using smartphones, computers, apps. So there are information labs being created all over the city. So it's for the city of Vienna, and to stay on top, it is necessary to include the people and take them with you on the way to the future in this case.
Great, thank you very much. So there are always challenges in creating a smart city or an intelligent community. So what do you do to transform your community into a smart city, and what are those challenges, and how do you overcome them? Can we start with Betty, please?
When transforming our community into a smart city, we think the challenge can often be found in both the public and private sectors. Using the public sector as an example, as we know, smart city planning is cross-disciplinary in nature and requires a lot of communication across various departments within the one local government. Moreover, when working with local governments for smart city development, their willingness, capabilities, and priorities in adopting a new technology and new solution may also vary greatly from one city to another. As for the private sector, sometimes the challenges are more profound to companies looking to deploy in less populated and remote areas. Given the difficulty for a new service to scale, or the limited ability to startups in providing this innovation service, just to name a few. Okay, To overcome the challenges mentioned earlier, here are some of the approaches we've taken. First of all, to encourage effective cross-department communication within local city government, we encourage them to establish task force led by senior officials. The best is their mayor. Okay. Secondly, we designate a point of contact for consultation on smart city development for each city, in which the point of contact can provide tailor-made suggestions, conduct workshops, and facilitate dialogue between local solution providers and city government in order to enhance their willingness and capacity of adopting new services. Thirdly, we utilize policy tools and provide additional subsidies for companies to deploy in remote areas. It really takes budget, okay. Lastly, we allocate resources and support to help startups participate in smart city development by relocation from cities to their hometowns and building up their company to launch innovation service with ICT for the local community, because especially the remote area, they are lack of the young generation. So it's very important to encourage our young generation to go back to their hometown and support the local digital transformation. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Betty. Thank you. So Liat, in Tel Aviv, what are your challenges in transforming your community into a smart city?
I think the first and foremost challenge in Tel Aviv and in any city is that the city's main priority is running the day-to-day operation of the city and the now, okay? So it's not a corporation, and it's not concerned with the competition or having the latest project and the latest technology. It first and foremost is concerned about giving satisfaction to the citizens on a daily basis. So I think that the biggest challenge is getting, the city's time and attention towards looking into something that is more futuristic, that is more, it's not in the here and now. And this is why in Tel Aviv, this is one of the main reasons that CityZone was formed, because our main concern is 100%, looking into the future and looking into here and now, and not looking only into here and now. And what we, the unique formation that we're built is that part of our steering committee, being the city, is that we are directly under the responsibility of the CIO of the city. And therefore, the CIO, and it's responsible for all the IT in all the city. And therefore, we have access, very good access to all the different departments of the city. It's the CIO's office it runs across the board with all the different departments. So this is how we kind of dare to mitigate the technology that we see from startups, and what we understand are the needs for the city, through the dialogue that we encourage them to make, and then to help them find the solution, and then help them go through a piloting process, and which is something that takes time, takes resources of the city. So this is our job, to get their attention and to help the technology get into the city. This is how we do it. Plus, we have the other challenges that I briefly mentioned about the citizen and the objection that maybe you can do you can have in regular streets. What is the system that you put, and why is it there? And when you have a logistical area that is also owned by the city, but it does have really living use cases, then you can do it with less delays and with less objections and less issues that you would have when you have like regular streets and regular areas of the city. And of course, not only that, but also regulations that sometimes you don't have yet the regulation that you would need in a regular area. In our area, which is a logistical area, you don't sometimes need it to go through the first stages of testing the technology. You don't have to have the regulation in place in order to test the technology. So this is kind of what we're trying to breach, the challenges that the city of Tel Aviv saw when envisioning CityZone and it's trying to solve through us.
Great, thank you very much. And Maria, you have some challenges in Barcelona. How do you overcome them? And what are they specifically?
Yeah. So I would say one of the challenges in developing a smart city is the financial challenge. So how do you really invest and finance the whole smart city development? It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of public effort, and it takes a lot of private effort. So how do you align all those economic efforts is crucial in succeeding in putting together the smart city project. And this also links to what Liat was saying, that, from the public authority point of view, they're very much into, daily daily problems that link them to the citizens. So planning, when bringing together, long-term planning and smart city development needs a long-term planning, because it's not happening tomorrow. It's happening, in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time, and in planning in short term. So I'd say the first challenge is related to how do you finance the smart city development. The second challenge is how do you align short-term decision-making to long-term to a long-term vision that the smart city deployment requires. And the third one, and this is part of the solution as well as the challenge, is how do you deploy a governance model that links together, that brings together the different areas involved in the smart city development. And we all know that organizations, and even more the public sectors, work in a very siloed and departmental way. So how do you break that? And I've seen that a lot of cities opt for this, CIO figure that is transversal to all the departments, and that has, the capacity to bring technology as a transversal way, in a transversal way, or otherwise forming these, bodies or these organizations side to side with the city council that are more into looking at the long-term vision, at how other cities are developing their smart city projects, and as to bringing in like new forms of, city development.
So just as an add-on, Maria, you're talking about these silos. So how do you break these silos down? And in the Intelligent Community Forum, one of the things two things that we talk about is inclusion and engagement. And we're dealing with the public. How do you deal with the public in that respect?
So first thing, and this is something that worked in Barcelona 10 years ago when we were deploying the smart city at the beginning, was having, a big dose of leadership. And this came from the city mayor. So if he's got the vision or she's got the vision, then everything will leak into the organization. Second is we started reporting, we started a new report on smart cities. So basically reporting on the advancement of different city projects. So whenever someone didn't see their projects in that report that was like sent out from the mayor, they would happily, raise their hands as to be involved in the report. So basically, I would say it's two-way. First, you need, a big dose of leadership, but then you also need something that really promotes that people that are used to working in their, very own area and siloed area, or have an incentive to work with the other areas in the city council. Otherwise, smart cities is just like won't happen, because we saw this, we've seen this in many cities, and you cannot go for smart transportation if you don't bring, the public transport together with the private transport, and together with, startups and the data manager together to work on something that works for all of them.
Well, thank you. Roland, same question to you. You mean Vienna and Austria in general may have a number of challenges. how do you overcome them in Vienna?
Well, I would say, apart from financing, which is absolutely correct, to invest into the future, this is what we have to do right now in all those sectors, and smart city, urban planning, uh, the waste of resources. These are the challenges which we have nowadays. So we don't have that many resources, so we cannot waste everything. So one way maybe to also overcome is when you have identified the needs, the needs, then you, as a city, as a local community, you need somebody with expertise to go to. So, for example, in Austria's case, one of the best hubs we have is the Austrian Technology Corporation, which is a nationally private and public funded entity and supported by business, by startups, by companies. From different sectors, and of course several federal ministries. Well, I'm proud to say, including my own one, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And this entity is, in my opinion, the best one-stop shop service point in Austria when it comes to smart city cooperation and the implementation of smart city plans and technologies on a national level. But of course, as they have the expertise and the business background, the technology, and also reaching out, cooperating with cities, entities worldwide. They are represented through MOUs and many other things, also here in Taiwan. We have one or two cooperations with the city of New Taipei City and Taoyuan. Taoyuan is just getting prepared now, getting implemented. So it's a way also to learn from other international entities. One of the solutions in the city of Vienna, for example, I always like to bring examples, is for example, when it comes to all issues relating to building refurbishment, energy efficiency of buildings or upgrading buildings. There is the city of Vienna is intending, or actually in the process of creating, a one-stop shop entity in the city of Vienna, dealing with all those issues, giving advice, having a service center implemented where individuals, organizations can go to and get the best information on the building code, for example, on the best way how to deal with the waste management, or many other things. For example, concerning energy issues for old style houses, new buildings, what is the best way? And of course, this is very, very important now, as we are also dealing with an energy crisis, just namely gas, coal, and oil, right? So heating systems have to be replaced, different solutions have to be found, and all of this is being done by creating one-stop shops in different areas. And so on a national level, on a bigger scale in the cities, and on of course on a smaller scale in the countryside, in smaller communities. So I think those challenges can be overcome. So it's not only a matter of finances. I completely agree. This is if you don't have the money, you cannot plan or implement anything. But it's also very important the information from top to bottom and bottom to the top. This is the information flow is very, very important to find out the needs of local communities.
I agree. Thank you very much. Now, one of the biggest challenges we've all addressed over the last couple of years has been this pandemic. So how does technology help to strategize to mitigate these challenges? And Betty, can you take that on, please?
Okay, thank you for your question. I think the COVID really hit Taiwan's economy a lot. Many new norms of our lives have been emerged, such as e-learning and telemedicine, home economy, and zero contact economy. Many local governments and venue operators are also think about use digital technology for pandemic prevention, public health promotion, and zero contact economy. For example, we have a smart ticketing service. It's not this before the pandemic. This is a service that integrates ticketing with mobile payment with many different coach companies. In the past, taking the coach often requires the passenger to queue in line for a long time without knowing the availability of seats and each ride. Ticketing services, seating availability, and payment methods were not integrated into a single portal. So during the pandemic, taking the public transport also follows the real name registration system. Within this app, it also becomes very helpful to coach, service, and Taipei station operator to effectively manage the crowd. And also beyond that, we have a solution we call the T-Cloud solutions. Like we invite all the SaaS into the, we call the T-Cloud marketplace. And we found all the SME, especially the company under 9 person in their company, and to purchase the SaaS solution. And during that period, we invited more than 20,000 small and medium company to purchase those SaaS solutions. And those solutions can be used very easily, so they can do their business in that period of time. Those SaaS solutions like POS or CRM or ERP, etc., is very useful for those. Even some vendors, they can use that app or that SaaS to help their business keep on going. So it's we think that's very helpful for our community. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Betty. Same thing. Could I hear from Maria on this topic, please?
Yeah. So I'd say that one of the main takeaways from the pandemic has been the acceleration of adoption of technology. So right now it's more generalized, and I would say that for the sake of smart cities, or how do we evolve into a more digitized society, would be, hybrid work models that promote a kind of a balance, not just between, your private life and professional life, but also related to the challenge that I was mentioning before between the urban and rural areas. And, with these hybrid work models, a lot of people are moving into the rural or less dense areas to live. And I think that this is also connected to the fact that after the pandemic, we're all more, we are more conscious about what we want in our cities, in our habitats, and also how we want to live in these habitats. And so maybe moving into, less dense, less habitated areas proposes a different value proposition for citizens. And so that needs to be, part of the equation also in developing the smart cities and smart territories of the future. It's also very important to accrue a fundamental objective, which is sustainability. And with hybrid work models, we developed this study in Catalonia, and we assessed that working remotely 2 to 3 times per week improved 26% or saved 26% of CO2 emissions, so individual CO2 emissions. So it also gives a sense of how I, citizen, can, really also be part of this challenge, which is the global challenge of sustainability, climate change, and also in how using technology to tackle these global challenges.
Yeah, we're going to tackle the discussion around sustainability and resiliency in a moment. But Roland, how did you fare in Vienna and across Austria during the pandemic? And have has technology been useful, I suppose, in overcoming some of those challenges during COVID?
Well, absolutely. Technology has actually helped a lot in different areas when the pandemic hit. So solutions were found partly quite quickly. For example, I always like to bring examples. So there were during the lockdown periods, of course, people couldn't go to work. So you have very often a problem with supply chains. So an Austrian startup, a Vienna startup company called Prewave, came actually up with a monitoring app which covered whole of Austria and where you could see the disruptions of several or different supply chains in different sectors of the economy. Or in the national strategy and especially in the local strategy in Vienna. In Vienna, testing, PCR testing was very, very important. So the city of Vienna also, again, together with a startup company, created a special PCR testing system, which then when it was rolled out, the whole city of Vienna, actually every citizen could basically go testing on a daily basis, but did the tests at home. So they got a testing kit from a nearby store, used the mobile phone with an app, with a camera, identifying him or herself, like by passport or driver's license, and actually videoed the whole process from the testing kit. Then you had to close down the testing kits, write down your number, and actually drop it off again at the next supermarket or some supply store in the different points all over the city. And you got a test result within 24 hours, digitalized and official. It was an officially recognized PCR test certificate, and this has been very, very successful because you needed the data. You needed to see how the pandemic spread. If the lockdown helps, it's all about information to be able to react in in this system. And now you can go to in Austria, everybody at the moment. So the testing has been reduced, and at the moment you get 5 tests for free, 5 PCR tests for free a month, and 5 antigen tests also for free per month through the National Health Services.
Okay, I agree with Maria as well regarding the uh, adoption of a hybrid model. I think people are looking at that as being reasonable moving forward. And so sustainability and resiliency, these are issues that all smart cities are dealing with, and they come in very different forms, as we understand. So what we're going to focus on is your journey towards that sustainable development by looking at best practices. So you might want to talk a little bit more, and some of you already have, on the smart city technologies and your infrastructure that's unique to your community that the government has been able to use to incentivize companies and startups towards sustainable development. So let's start off with Betty. Betty, could you talk a little bit about your situation in Taiwan?
Okay. I agree with Roland. You mentioned about the Vienna. You got a very useful app to have very much information that give to the citizens. And I think the street parking problem is also very common pain point for all of our living in the city. So due to its insufficient information of available parking spaces, people waste time and energy to find their parking spots and cause traffic congestion. So take one of the solution providers, TIDC, in the Smart City Taiwan project as an example. TIDC provides a smart parking app to collect data for future data analysis. By building the smart parking business intelligence system, it helps community shops and governments and ecosystem partners to make decisions and provide important reference for the future mass mobility as a service policies. By using IoT and geomagnetic equipment under the ground, okay, TIDC can monitor parking space availability and share the information to the cloud for public access. Okay, through this app, and our citizens can easily find their street side parking and save up to maybe 9 or 10 minutes per search. This also translates into cutting down tons of carbon emission while improving traffic in the city. And so moreover, city government can gain access to the data collected from this parking space to implement better management and policy planning for the public in the future. So smart parking service can also be integrated with online payment system to provide more convenience to the general public. So also for the startups and business, it's a very good infrastructure that the government provide to the or environment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And Liat, are there any innovations that have been observed in your specific community that can be shared with the world? I mean, are there things that you see that are exportable?
Well, yes, the entire idea of CityZone is to help startups that have internationalization plans and are not just servicing the city of Tel Aviv, because if you just do that, then then the startup, maybe the solution succeeds, but the startup dies. So we're looking to help them also export and become international. And we have several quite interesting solutions. The city of Tel Aviv has been a member of the C40 organization that strives to help decrease carbon emissions and reduce half by 2030. So this is also an ambition that the city of Tel Aviv shares and strives to do. And there's a plan still, parts of it are already starting to be implemented, and parts of the plan are still being formed. But in terms of reducing energy sources and using more natural energy and natural lighting and they're reducing the heat inside the city. So this is a problem that has already been delegated to CityZone, and we have different solutions that are really, really interesting. One of them is a company called LumiWeave that has that actually won the C40 competition, the designer, and the pilot that the prize was to implement a pilot in Tel Aviv, and they did it here in CityZone, and they're now a part of the CityZone portfolio. And what they do is that they have a shading, different areas on the streets and playgrounds. That what it does, it's completely off the grid, and it has solar embedded panels in the fabric of the umbrella, and then during the day it absorbs the sun heat, and during the night it provides lighting underneath. So it's completely off the grid, and therefore we have electricity off the grid with that, and this is already starting to be implemented in the city. Another solution that is being tested right now is a company called SaltCold that does active cooling by the sunlight. Actually, it's a material that actually is white, and when it comes in contact with sunbeams, it creates a cooling effect underneath. So we're now piloting it on electricity boxes that are on the streets, and then they have very sensitive equipment and they need cooling, and you have to cool it. Right now you do it with air conditioning and you use energy to cool the boxes, and we're trying to create that effect without electricity as well. So trying to do that and then the next stage would be to test it in bigger structures, such as, classes in schools and different kind of structures that can, we can take out the component of air conditioning in these structures, and that would obviously create a very good effect in our bigger effort to reduce carbon emissions. And we have another company called BioShade that does biological shading, and basically does plants that they're agronomists are trying to combine IoT with agronomy. And what they do is that they have a watering system for different kind of plants that make them grow really rapidly and provide biological shading, plant shading, where you cannot plant trees. So these are just 3 examples of the kind of technologies that are being implemented here, and hopefully within a couple of years they'll be out in the world.
So yeah, just as an add-on, these communities of interest, do they include your universities and other training centers? Because obviously, the universities and the kind of research that they do they provide the kind of stimulus and capabilities to the companies that you deal with?
So yeah, we being owned partly by the city and partly by the university, this is a great benefit for us, because we do offer to connect between researchers and the startups. And actually, one of the 3 companies that I mentioned, BioShade, has took advantage and is doing a research with the university about different habitats of the plants in order to maximize the effect and the growth of the plants, and to really adequately choose the right plants for the right area. And also so-called, it's actually an innovation that started off in university and then was, as and they're commercializing it, but they started the development with the collaboration by a professor in the university. So yes, there's a lot of collaboration between academy and the startups.
Thank you. So Maria, same question to you, is about sustainability and resiliency. Are there innovations that you're seeing in your community that could become exported? Not only are they good best practices, but they're actually useful.
Yes, I would like to share with you what the European Commission is doing, because actually that Europe has set the goal of becoming climate neutral by 2050. So the overall Europe. So the Commission started by, putting up this mission on climate neutral and smart cities, of which I'm part of the board. And so for this, they selected 100 cities. It's 112 actually, that must, be the first in the race. So be climate neutral by 2030. Barcelona is one of these cities, but there's, of course, other 7 Spanish cities, and also 112 in total in Europe. So basically, the challenge here is, how do you plan and measure how a city is becoming climate neutral in 8 years? And so it differs very much from city to city. So part of the challenge here is by putting together and coming up with this, what we're calling the climate city contracts, that are contracts that are commitments made from the city, but not just the city, but also including the ecosystem supporting the city, into what actions and what financing tools will you use and will you deploy in order to become climate neutral in 2030. And so these climate city contracts include, of course, an agenda on how you'll overcome the issue, but also new economic models for climate action. And this includes how to finance this transition. And how do you finance it? Of course, together with the banking system, but also with the private sector. And of course, including universities, research centers, and everyone. So it's also a promotion of using smart systems and new technology, and of course, data platforms as to integrate the different sources of information and becoming more intelligent in deploying the analytics of the city. But thing is, it depends. Like the plans for Barcelona to become climate neutral in 2030 are, of course, very different to the plans that Gothenburg in Sweden may have for becoming climate neutral in 2030. So the challenge here is, how do you search for a common solutions so that you can scale these solutions really, as to create also a market so that the private investment will come in and join. So we're at this phase right now. We're at the phase of looking for the common, the common objectives and the common solutions for the whole 112 cities, and also looking at the specifics of the cities to include in these climate city contracts. But it's a huge challenge. So listening up to the different, kind of solutions, and the solutions in Tel Aviv that might be useful for Mediterranean cities like Barcelona are very useful.
Great, thank you. Roland, same question. In dealing with resiliency and sustainability, are there methodologies? Are there ways in which your government is helping to incentivize companies and startups towards sustainable development? And if you are there some examples that you could maybe cite that could be exportable, could be developed to create opportunities on an international level, maybe among all of you?
Yeah, I would say, for example, the city of Vienna's approach in regaining public space for the people. As I said, I always like examples. Like my apartment is in a street, and through public participation of the residents in the area, the people were asked to choose from 3 alternatives on how to create a new street there, by firstly slowing down traffic, secondly having more space for pedestrians and for bicyclists, and actually instead of creating new parking spaces, there will be this street. It's quite a long street, but it will lose 70 parking lots, 70 public parking lots, which could be used by anybody. The second thing is by parking lots to make it actually less attractive to come to town to work by car. So create outside the city, creating park and ride facilities, either very cheap or free of charge, and having points of access for public transportation. So the goal of the city of Vienna is to reach any point from anywhere within the city limits within 15 minutes, either by bicycle, by different means of transport, by metro, MTR, by bus, by streetcars, trams, or any other kinds of public transport. So therefore, to minimize carbon emissions, individual traffic has to be not banned, but it has to be less attractive. And also, for example, by doing the following, parking spaces, more or less, more and more only for residents living in the area in different districts for a small annual fee, and making other available parking lots quite expensive. Actually, they are quite expensive, I must say. They are €2.20 per half hour, which is quite a lot, I would say. But on the other hand, to make public transport very, very affordable. So public transport in Vienna, the annual ticket without any discounts to anybody, any grown-up working adult paying taxes or whoever, is only 365 euros. That's €1 a day. So that's in Taiwan dollar approximately 11,200 per year. And of course, discounted tickets go down to students, school students. It's only 70 euros a year. So it's very, very affordable to use public transport. It becomes more attractive. And of course, individual traffic more and more becomes less attractive. So I think this is a model, and also at the same time regaining public space, creating pedestrian zones, greening up the city, creating microclimates. I think this is a very, very important way on how to deal with it, and to actually solve different problems at the same time. And I think this can be done by this approach, for example.
Great, thank you, Roland. We're coming to the end, so I'd like to just ask Betty the same question. Are there innovations that you've observed, not only in Taiwan, but maybe anywhere around the world, that your community could benefit from, or if you're developing them, share them with the rest of the world? And are any of them exportable? Betty.
Okay. I've got two examples that I can share here. The first one would be the smart aquaculture solutions. Okay, aquaculture and fishery, because Taiwan is an island, so you know we are very good at aquaculture and fishery. Okay, and they are but they are still under the great impact of the weather, as well as factors such as water temperature, dissolved oxygen, and pH level in the pond. If not handled carefully, the impact on fish or shrimps could be really bad. So it is therefore a labor-intensive for fish farmers. Okay, by software and hardware integration, there's a company called Q company. Okay, built an IoT platform to monitor the environment and feeding system in the pond and document human wisdom in the breeding process. In time, it has been proven to increase yield by 20%. Okay, the smart aquaculture solution has also been exported to the places like Brunei, the Philippines, and Indonesia, and deployed to over 1,000 acres of ponds to show how Taiwan's technology and solution can help our neighbors. And the second case would be the intelligence commercial drone solutions. Consider the high cost of logistics in remote areas. Taiwan's company with CIRC had integrated intelligence drone, fleet management system, and AI data analytical platform to provide logistics service to remote areas with precise precision. Okay, and the CIRC is also work with post office to deliver goods to remote areas, for example, Hsinchu in Taiwan, and establishing SOP for domestic drone service for logistics. In this case, also being proven as a great way to improve efficiency and reduce burden on manpower for a wide range of areas in remote locations across Taiwan. And CIRC is also worked with Japan's Rakuten logistics to deliver goods and provision to remote areas in Japan, as well as with Japan's telecom operator, KDDI, for the disaster support and relief. So we think it is a very good example that already export to another country. So we think it's very good. There are still a lot of solutions, but today is the time constraint. So I only introduced two. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Betty. And thank you not only to Betty, but to Liat, Maria, and to Roland for this wonderful panel. So from an intelligent community forums perspective, These kinds of best practices that we've heard today will go a long way to help communities around the world to become better and more livable cities. Sharing these best practices is a key intelligent community forum attribute. So it's truly, as today's theme says, together for a better future. So thank you all for your participation today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.